Wonderful. I just wanted three important audience, and we have two, Dr. Ali and Abdullah.
Yeah, I just sent a message. Hopefully, I will. Yeah. I sent him an email because he was a bit. Yeah, there were some issues, so I sent him an email and hopefully. But I had a discussion. So did she get something? But this is what we wrote. But you are using because when I saw the first infection, because the function of the oil liquid up to change. And then it needed to someone found the yeah, I think put it in this is one second. But point one, point two, that would be. And this will be Oh, yes. That's my something.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I've been in situations where the last lecture of the session was mine and I was the speaker. I try to keep it as interesting and as educative as possible. And I'll try that you back with some new knowledge. Like I mentioned this morning, that you will get to learn something in today's session which you did not know. So the title is obvious, and there are things. Yes, sir. Yes.
Since Dr. Sadiq really introduced all of us, let me just introduce him briefly, although I don't know, about his previous history. MashaAllah, he's one of the most senior person in the university. I think even he taught many of us Even he told Dr. Ayman as the chairman of COE. So we don't want to know your age at this stage, Dr. Sadiq, but he is from the COE department, full professor, worked a lot in the research institute for a very long time, has a lots of experience. I really depends a lot on him. He is now the director of the Office of Planning and Quality OBQ. And also he's helping a lot in the research institute for the recruitment campaign, postdoc, star faculty member. Always helpful whenever we ask him of anything. We hope, inshallah, all the best for him. And part of the OBQ as well is, as I mentioned today, is about ranking and what are the issues, what we should really look for. And he's going to maybe speak more about that. Thank you, Dr. Sadiq. All the best.
Thank you, Doctor. I forgot to mention this morning when I introduced Dr. Ali that he has a tendency to exaggerate, especially about people who work with him. Thank you for that. Somebody did a small comparison of ChatGPT and Bard. And they asked ChatGPT, and they sent an email. They asked ChatGPT, what do you know about Dr. Sadiq Said? And ChatGPT said, who's Dr. Sadiq Said? They asked the same question to Bard, and Bard gave a very nice long description, except that in the age, it said, I was born in May 1967. I was born before 1960. Okay. And I'm not shy about my age. Bismillah, this is an important talk, and we have a very good crowd over here. I just need 3 people in the can go and just spread the message. We are talking about something extremely important, and you'll see the value of the statement towards the end. Is the voice okay, or is it loud? Or it's okay, yeah. So we have an academic institution which emphasizes both on teaching and research, and we should know our role before we talk about how we evaluate ourselves or how others evaluate us. Our role primarily is simply to educate individuals and increase the knowledge. But while we are doing this, we also are supposed to generate knowledge, because you can't keep on talking about the same thing. And then we are also an institution of higher learning that has to provide the facilities, laboratories, libraries, infrastructure, etc. And that's what makes the university. And finally, we can also or authorize to grant academic degrees. That we have to keep in mind throughout this talk to understand what we mean by performance of such an entity, a university. Little bit of terminology. There's a huge collection of data about researchers in what is called as research database. Research databases could be public, like Google Scholar, ResearchGate, academia.edu. Academia has a small fee also, I think. Or it could be like a subscribed database like Scopus and Scival from Elsevier, or Web of Science, which is a Clarivate company now. It was popularly known as ISI earlier. Many people would use it without even understanding what the expansion of ISI was, which is okay. I am very passionate about numbers. And I didn't know this, actually. One day, my wife comes to my lecture. She was sitting on the first bench. And when we left, she said, you always have to talk with numbers? I'm very passionate. And I didn't know until she told me, and I discovered. And I'm also very passionate about the university and its ranking position. The higher administration, hello, everybody may not align with that, but I am. And I have to be frank with you about that. It is something like an obsession. It's not my main job. I do 15, 20 other things with the administration. As you know, I teach, I work with the VP, I work with the president, I have many things. But ranking is important. Why is it important? Because the university did a lot for me. I came here as somebody with almost nothing, and they took care of me. It is now time to give back and see that the university's accurate position is reflected in the ranking tables, which is not at this time. And how do we try to improve that? One is through this transformation, the president's strategy, the VP's efforts, etc. But there's also a need to go and reflect our accurate data when we submit our data to ranking makers, so they use that to evaluate us. There are two things. One is they collect the data from us, and then they collect the data from other agencies, other consultancies, and the internet. There's a new term you might have not heard before. Bibliometrics is known, we know what is bibliography, and bibliography is harvested from publications, put on the databases, and mainly the core there is citations. And before, citations used to be a very important factor when they evaluated impact and quality of the publication. There's another time called scientometrics. These scientometrics simply means what? It is the metrics to measure the quality of science. And they are specialists or experts with these companies that own these professional databases, like Elsevier has their own scientometric experts and bibliometric experts. Similarly, ISI people have. And what they do, they come up with new measures. And there are some which we will talk about. The other thing is, because these scientometric experts can pull out lots of nice information, the ranking makers and ranking agencies work with them. So now you'll see there's a very close marriage between QS and Times with Elsevier. If you go to SciVal and you want to get a list of those publications which QS has used for your citations this year, there is a possibility over there. There's a button with QS mentioned. So there's a very strong correlation over there. Here we have a question. Should we trust the ranking agencies? My answer is no. Why? We'll try to explain. But I can give you an example now. Last year, we found that our citations made a good jump. And citations per faculty is an indicator with a weight of 20%. But our citation score went down. This year, we did not make a very big jump. And the citation score jumped by 88 positions only for that indicator. We don't understand. Our experts in my office, Mr. Abdullah, Mr. Ali, they all came up with mathematical models for prediction. We have who used machine learning because we have data for 30 universities. We put our prediction and we failed. Very enigmatic. And also there's no transparency, by the way. There's no transparency in methodology at all. You cannot go and duplicate the results by picking up the same numbers, except in Shanghai rankings. Then why should we care? Because these people have these experts and they come up with good indicators, it really helps us to use. Like, for example, we never used ISI as a database to look for our publications until we started looking at Shanghai rankings. Before that, I too have been a chairman. The dean would ask, please list all your journal papers. We would dump everything. IEEE transaction was a journal paper. Some university in a village in India was a journal paper. All was counted as one. There was no real quantification. And when you added all of those papers, it did not add up to the papers from the university. It was much more. Now we have a database we can refer to. So we go to a database, you give the university name, we have a metric to track our performance. If we are going down, we have to strategize to improve. We could evaluate a faculty like in scientific council, etc. The other reason why we should care for rankings is because the world looks at the rank. If you're going to interview as an HR, a Nobel laureate, for example, and you say, he'll ask you, what is the ranking of your university? If you say 735, he will not want to come, no matter how much money, what facilities you provide. Whether you like it or not, it is an indicator. People use it. And I have used this. 160 or 180 is a fantastic ranking in the world. According to Webbermetrics, there are more than 20,000 universities and colleges in the world. So anything in the top 200 is super. And that helps us in recruitment and in other things also. Like when we jumped to 7th position in petroleum, somebody called and said, oh, CPG has secured the funding from Aramco for the next 3 years. So somebody is looking at it. I don't know how far that is true, but that is what somebody said. All right, now there's a new indicator, again, based on citations called as FWTI. We used to have a big problem quantifying or measuring departments. And the university used to think that the best discipline in the university is chemistry because half the citations come from them. That's very good. But then we found that if you look at a paper in chemistry, at the back, there are about 200 references If you look at computer engineering, there's only between 15 and 20. So naturally, papers in citations in chemistry will be 10 times more than the other. It doesn't mean one is working 10 times harder than the other or is better in research than the other. This problem was sorted out by what is called as FW. The ranking makers, what they did, they looked at the average citation in each discipline. And if it's average, you get 1. If it's double the average, the FWCI is 2, and so on. So we found that if you have 150 publications, citations per publication in chemistry, it is the same as 24 in computer engineering. It is the same as 6 in finance. So FWCI solved a big problem of normalizing this across disciplines. Now, ranking agencies are abandoning citations, but they're using this FWCI in a very interesting way. One of them is, let's say your paper gets cited by another paper. How many citations you got? Earlier it was 1. Now it'll be the FWCI of the citing paper. So if a nice paper in Nature or Science cites you, you get more recognition than if some paper in some remote place cites. The other way they are using this FWCI is, instead of taking the mean of the citations, now they take the mean of the FWCI of the papers that come with your university. So you go to Scopus, you can say King Fahd University, it will list all the papers with an option, citations or FWCI. Now FWCI is used. And a certain weight is given. The other nice place they use FWCI is, this is very interesting, they go and sort all the papers based on FWCI, and they divide into quartiles, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. They cut off the top 25% of the papers, and that is called the 75th percentile. That particular paper's FWCI is given. For our university, we found that 75th percentile paper is 1.88, which is very good, which is very high compared to other universities. What is the advantage of that? Because of collaboration, because of the net connecting all of us, there are a large number of papers. Some of them have thousands of authors. Definitely KFUPM has a few papers with more than 1,000 authors. So when they chop off the top 25%, then that particular issue is resolved. One thing which university has to consider is any paper with more than a certain threshold of authors or affiliation is not counted in rankings. For engineering, I think it is 10 or 11. So if there are 12 authors in a paper, scientific council should not consider that, and ranking agencies remove that even before they come to the citations. Yes, you are an author, you contributed, but you will not get the same credit as a publication from you, which we do for others. I hope that's clear, yeah? So this is one nice thing which the ranking agencies do, and we can learn from them. And now the ranking agencies, because it's all automated databases, they also know how to find the top 1 percentile of papers, top 2 percentile of papers. One thing which Times Education does is they give 10% weight for papers in the top 10 percentile. So for each institute, they look at how many of your publications are in the top 10 percentile of journals, and you get a certain score. We have a few more important things similar to this. One of them is self-citation. They're not counted for promotion, which is okay, it is their policy. My personal recommendation would be to always self-cite your own work for a few reasons. Number one, it is a good marketing for your work. Number two, generally when you write a paper, it is somehow related to your previous work. It's not like randomly you're working in different places. Number three, if you don't cite your own work, how can you expect others to sign your work? And number four, if the self-citation is not too much, like 20% of your references, then ranking agencies ignore that. They may count it as a citation. And there are several metrics I'll show you today where self-citations by ranking makers are acceptable. So remember that. The other thing is the collaboration indicator, and we'll talk about this in a little detail. This is another indicator that has been introduced by ranking agencies. It's called as International Research Network. So these are the things which the bibliometrics people using their databases come up with to go and measure things like collaboration, for example. Dr. Ali and Dr. Abdullah talked about sustainability this morning. We'll give it another dimension today, and I think that will be useful. And we have been very proud of our patents. First time, 2% weight is given for patents by ranking agencies, but it's not for number of patents. It is for something else, and I'll show you that. So I'm saying, I say that in collaboration, everybody wins. And like Dr. Ali mentioned this morning, we always can't say we'll collaborate with only people or universities better than us. If everybody says this, then the universities will at a lower level or not as highly ranked as us will never be able to collaborate. And I think there will be definitely people there via collaboration you can benefit from. I did a certain collaboration with 2 students in Bangladesh, bachelor students. Their objective was what? To learn how to do research and get out of Bangladesh. And they struggled, they tried to publish, they didn't know what is publication, and there was some mentoring over the net. We managed to author 8 publications. They got a full-time scholarship for PhD in University of New South Wales in Sydney. I'll be seeing them after next month when I go there for conference. I think that is something that Dr. Ali said, we have to also spread knowledge, do mentoring, contribute, and in the end, we also benefit. You will not believe the benefit. I didn't plan to say that in this talk. They have been nominated by Forbes 30 under 30, only for their citations. 3 of the papers got in 2 years more than 100 citations. It was related to COVID and pollution and energy, etc. But now the boys know what is research. I think they'll remember KFUPM. So coming to this, QS has introduced 3 new criteria this time, and it is the reason why our ranking went down. In the previous criteria, in all of them, we did extremely well. We jumped lots of positions in citations, as I told you. We jumped in academic reputation, in all the criteria. But 3 were introduced. One was International Research Network. And how do they define that? Their IRN score is L divided by ln of P, where L is the number of countries or locations, and ln of P is the number of partners. And who is a partner? If you collaborate with any university and co-author a paper, they are a partner. But there's a threshold. They are a partner, but they are counted in this if you have at least 3 publications with them and they are cited. But the situation, let's say the US, if we go and partner with more new universities, ln of P is in the denominator. Our IRN score will go down. So we have to, if you care for rankings and IRN score, etc., you have to look for geographies which don't exist in our ranking list of countries. And SciVal will give you that. SciVal will give you all your collaborators. There's a collaboration. If you want, we could do this offline or after the talk. Click on that. It'll give you all your papers, all your co-authors, their countries, universities, citations, publications. And maybe one of our colleagues, Mr. Ali, can help you with a small pivot table. And you can go and actually determine, like Dr. Suhail was asking this morning about an award for IRN. How to give an award? So we could use the same criteria and say that, okay, you are better in collaboration than you because you have larger number of countries and the IRN score based on this is higher, for example. I hope that is clear, and I hope that you can go and do this. And what is interesting is we found that there are some countries we had 2 publications with a partner. And maybe we can go and do another or do many more. For example, they are the partners. And then we also found that a large number of countries, we had only 40. KFUPM has about 40 countries. Abdulaziz has 83. King Saud has about 80. Because we are actually a technical school, we have some constraints. But we do have appreciable, but there is room for increasing and contributing. This is a nice map which was generated by one of our colleagues, Abdullah at the back. This tells you how many publications we covered with people in different countries. And you can see that it's been actually 4 main countries: China, India, the US, and internal to Saudi Arabia. And there are a large number of countries where we don't have even one. In some, we have one, like in Africa, for example, and some other places. Yeah, these are the 2 universities that we want to compare. When you talk of IRN or FWCI, etc., what happens is in Times ranking, they've divided all publications into 5 areas: arts and humanities, engineering and technology, life sciences, natural sciences, and social sciences. And you see that we don't do very well in others except sciences and engineering. So, and then they average the score across this. That is the problem. So we have to do very well in what is our forte, which is engineering and sciences, in order to be competitive with others. And like Dr. Ali showed this morning, we have been doing very well in terms of publications and citations, increasing. In fact, for the 2024 rankings, we had 25,000 citations. For the next year's ranking, we already in August have crossed 150. So I think in terms of performance, quality, the transformation is working. That is a definitely good indicator. It's about 3-4 years now, and things have been on the rise. And this has actually saved us last time, and we did not get out of the top 200. We still were close to it. Let's talk a little bit about SDGs. These were actually formulated by United Nations. They're very important. They are called as Sustainable Development Goals, very popular. Also mentioned in Vision 2030 that the kingdom wants to align. The kingdom is ranked 94 or 96 in the world out of the 166 countries that have submitted the data. The top 4 are the Scandinavian countries: Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and Finland. And there are 16 of those, and the 17th is the partnership for all the goals, yeah? The papers that we write will be assigned to one of these if you choose keywords properly, if you choose the title properly, if you write the abstract properly. And this email was sent to all faculty by the VP's office. What is it that we need to do? We need to contribute. Remember, we always talk about impactful research, so societal impact, economic impact, environmental impact. This does not talk about economics, but it talks about the others. So we have these goals. There is an organization called as Times Higher Education that does only impact rankings based on your contribution to SDGs. So every year, universities have to submit more than 3 SDGs, data for more than 3 SDGs. And then they will take the best 3 in terms of the score. Their scoring is that 30% are given to journal publications, which are for that SDG. For the others, they ask you to answer a certain question, like whether do you do this a particular thing, and even evidence. You get a score if you give evidence, you get a score of 1. If the evidence is not very good, you get half. And then there's a third question where the evidence is public or private. You also have to give a link. Based on that, you get a score. If you submit 3, then all 3 are scored, and then they do a ranking. 3 years ago, we submitted only 3, and we were ranked 850 or something. A year later, somebody said, why don't you submit more? We submitted 6. And we were ranked in 3. And surprisingly, I think that was 7, 9, and 14. We didn't know that for life below water, we'll be ranked very high. And so our ranking jumped from 850 or something to 3. So next time we said, why don't we submit more? So we submitted 10. And then we were ranked, I think, in 8, 9, and 14. Decent work and economic growth. Why was that high for us? Because relatively fewer number of universities participated or contributed for that particular SDG. It's very different to deal for them. Now, the nice thing is this: if you go to Pure and go to your profile, just scroll down, you will see which of your publications have been contributing to which of the SDGs. This just came by itself. We did not work for it. But now we'll show you how you can work to enhance this, so you can enhance the score for sustainability, and thereby this is the one. Yeah, and thereby contributing to the vision of the university and the sustainability ranking of the kingdom. Yeah. When you go back home, I think that maybe this is the first thing that you may want to do. Now, what happened last year, we submitted for both Times Impact Rankings and the QS Sustainability Rankings, and we did not appear in the QS rankings. Then when we did some research, we found that they had thresholds of publications. For SDG 5 gender equality, we had only 11 papers. For reduced inequality, the threshold was 27, and we had only 24. In another table, I'll show you that when they check the thresholds, they have these two tables: environmental impact. We met all the thresholds for the first one. In the social impact, we did not meet. And so we were not considered at all. This was like the first filter. So we were not ranked. When the score of 5% was given for the world rankings for SDGs, we got 1 out of 5. Every 0.1 means a jump of 6 to 9% in rankings, which is big. So if you all can participate and contribute, we're not talking about unethical practices. Don't say that, oh, we did not have this in gender equality, so let's go and put that keyword in our abstract. No, no, no. The only thing is that certain keywords could have been put and were not put. And if you take care of that, then we cross this filter or cross this threshold, and then whatever we are doing which we submit will be counted. Here, now you see the email that was sent by the VP's office. What we did, we gave you a link where you can find 1,000 keywords for each SDG. And definitely from your work, you will find something that is apt for that. Like, for example, for no poverty, one of the keywords which our team found was energy access. And we are doing a lot of work in energy. So if that is an appropriate keyword, and if that appears in either the title or the abstract or the list of keywords, then that publication will show up in your Pure, and you'll get 1 journal point for that. And maybe that could be the criteria Dr. Suhail and Dr. Sultan can use to give a SDG award, for example. Remember, you were talking about, and that is easy to pick up. Through Cyvan and Scopus, everything is there. You can go determine for yourself what is your contribution to SDGs and the societal or environmental impact. We mentioned about self-citations, but in patents, self-citations are allowed, which means when you go and submit a patent to be issued, it's like a publication, okay? Of course, most of it is written by the lawyer, but if you recall, it is based on a publication. When you submit to Mr. Tayyab, who spoke this morning, they say, do you have a paper where this work was taken from and it was published within the last 1 year? So you have a paper already. Or Dr. Yaz's office group, Dr. Sultan's time, worked with one lawyer, and they found a large of master's and PhD theses of KFUPM. PU patent. So there is a publication. So we can refer to our own patent, and referring to your own work in the patent is allowed by Times Higher Education. And it's logical, because it is based on what research you earlier did. Yeah. And the other thing I want to talk to you about, If you're getting bored, we can summarize. Huh? Yeah. Is mistakes in affiliations. Dr. Abdullah this morning spoke about dual affiliation. They have a policy and they say some practices are unethical. Okay, that's fine. That is their business. We were looking at affiliations from the ranking point of view. We found, Abdullah came up with a good model where for every 1,000 citations, we one ranking position. And we also found that we were losing something between 5,000 and 10,000 citations because of either wrong affiliation or missing affiliation. We're not talking about dual affiliation. Like, for example, I found in one of the papers, the university name was Kind Fahad University Petroleum. Easy to miss, but it is not there. The faculty will get a point for that publication because his author ID is right. But the university does not get because the affiliation ID is wrong. So when the ranking makers go and search for all, our affiliation ID is 6,9506. The paper does not appear. KFUPM, United States. KFUPM, Iraq. It's not counted. It is there. It is there. And there was one journal, only from my work in the last 5 years, 800 citations. 800 citations have not been counted in 17 publications. Publisher was a German. We communicated with them. We said, this is how you should put King Fahad University of Petroleum and Minerals, Dhahran, Saudi Arabia. The name was removed. I'll show it to you. The name was removed, and the affiliation in Scopus is showing as Dhahran, Saudi Arabia. When we contacted Scopus and said, please fix this affiliation, because all this is done on overleaf, and the first thing we put in overleaf is the affiliation and acknowledgement. This is very important. Whether you write the text or not, the template has that. But what typesetting tool they use, we don't know. There were mistakes made. Contacted Scopus and said, please, can you fix? They should contact the publisher first. So we go to the publisher now. And now the publisher is struggling to fix, because once something goes to hard copy, it cannot be fixed. Maybe the software version, then it comes to a very tedious procedure. But it works. And we will maybe give you a tutorial on how you can go and fix your own affiliations. There is this nice window in the portal where you can complain, but it's not so easy. Now, what I did, I found somebody in Scopus, and I sent them another paper indexed in Scopus in the same date of publication, which has the correct affiliation. And I told them, your database, we are helping you fix it. And the value of the is. So this is the situation. And we have several more, like we have a professor, Dr. Tunisi. He works in other university and he's part-time with us, but he works with us. And this paper was done. Other papers in the same time, KFUPM name appears, and this disappeared. And his papers, this particular paper has 100. This gentleman has about 30, 40 papers with a few thousands of citations where KFUPM affiliation has been missed. All of you should go back and go paper by paper. And if you want, we can show you how to generate that. You come sit with the boys, or if you want a tutorial or a Teams lecture, we'll show you exactly how you can pick up all your papers with the Scopus link. And if you click, it'll show you this page, and you can see something fishy. Affiliate. There were a couple of slides here. Yeah, I told you that in the last 5 years, only 81 patents in the world cited KFUPM publications, and only 41 publications were cited in 81 patents. And KFUPM publications had been cited only 85 times in patents. How do we know this? Again, if you go to SciVal and you click on patents, it'll give you now these numbers. Now, what is scary about this is that ranking is done on a 5-year window, and most of our patent citations came in the latter year of 2018. Next year's ranking, this will be shifted out. We need to do lots of work. And that's why I asked Dr. Iyad to be here. I said, put this as a check. Anybody submits for a patent to be issued, make sure that if work was done in KFUPM, that is included in the citations. So this is something that you may need a tutorial if you want to have a quick fix. Just fix a time and come over, and my colleagues will be very happy to sit with you. In a few minutes, they will show you the whole problem. Sometimes it may not exist. Like we checked Dr. Salah Tawfiq, UPM graduate, there was no problem. Problem occurs when you have international collaborations and when you have the co-author from outside being the corresponding author. That is when mistakes can happen. With all my critical checking, there were flaws. And you might be able to find something. A simple thing to do is, for the last 5 years, go through the first sheet, each of your publications, and make sure that your affiliation is there. The other way to do that is, we can show you how a few clicks and you can get all your publications, all the affiliation IDs, and we have to just make sure that our code is there. It's a very simple few seconds recipe, but it will reveal a lot. And I'll give you telephone numbers of our colleagues in OPQ who will be happy to work with all of you. So in summary, we talked about IRN. I think it's very important. I think collaboration is extremely important. You can have a purpose to mentor people in Timbuktu and Zimbabwe and Mauritius. Okay, it will help to work with Georgia Tech and this thing, but they will collaborate only if you give them money, because they're all very busy people and experts who generate lots of funds. They will not have time to work with you until they can monetize their time. But there's so many others who can bring value for you. FWCI, I think, just like you did with H-index in the last 20 years, it'll be FWCI from now. H-index was very popular. H-index was used to predict who will get the Nobel laureate or Nobel Prize. And now it is FWCI. Affiliations is for your own benefit. Okay. Can you believe I don't know if you have the author here. We have an author who's been here, and we found about 10 publications which do not have KFUPM affiliation. And when we asked him, how come? He said, I got a memo that dual affiliation is not allowed, and I was affiliating my university and my previous university, so I removed KFUPM. There was another person, or the same person, he said, oh, I was told that I'm writing too many papers. Why do I do that? So I thought of removing KFUPM. He thought he can hide himself by not including KFUPM. That is their business. But we found us also. For almost all administrators, I found something or the other. One place you find this most is conferences. One of my administrative friend, there's a conference paper, his name is the affiliation. He didn't put the, they have some automatic tool to go and he did not pick up. There are lots of papers by SPE, the Society of Petroleum Engineers, Dr. Abdurrahim Abdulaziz, Dr. Katatni. They have the name, Katatni, KFUPM. It did not pick up. That is not the format it was looking for. But now, since it is there, we call it as wrong affiliation. I think it's easier to fix than missing affiliation that has to be added. Okay. And I think effort has to be put because it takes time for them to go and... where did I learn this? I was in a conference a couple of months ago in California. Consultant met me and said, all universities have this problem, and we fixed this for a few universities, and they jumped in the rankings. I said, what's the value of your contract? He said $3 to $4 million. And I think I spoke to you, and I told Dr. Misfer also. I said, how about $1 million? He said, no, that's not too low for us to work with. I said, okay, send a proposal. And then I asked him, I said, can you do a small POC just to show us what you do? He said, no, we don't do POCs. That is like giving away the main business secret. And then, mashallah, Abdullah and Ali and Mary, they all got together and they did a few things manually. They were not much, because SciVal gives you only 500 authors, and the top 500 authors was okay for us. Even the 499 had a large number of citations, 9 or 10, I think, that had to be corrected. but the 500 had 4. So I said, anybody below that, we can keep them aside for the moment, and we can start fixing these. So we need to do this soon because I think data will be collected now in December 2013. And I'm really looking forward to making a difference in citations. Under the leap we have to do, definitely contribute to your DGs. Contribute in the sense, fix the mapping, make sure the keywords are right. Continue publishing, keep looking at pure. And if you're not adding certain keywords in certain papers or publications, journals or conferences, doesn't matter, then please try to sort of tune those keywords rightly. That way you will help the university and you will help yourself and you will be awarded. Thank you very much for your attention. Can I take a couple of questions?